Allegedly, the song Daughter on Beyonce's Cowboy Carter album.
I love that one.
Well, it's potentially a confession about Jay-Z's mistress, Cathy White.
What?
Yeah, buckle up. On August 28th, 2011, Beyonce announced her pregnancy at the MTV VMAs.
Iconic.
On January 7th, 2012, Blue Ivy was born into this world. In 2016, Beyonce dropped Lemonade. Now, as we all know, Lemonade was a true album about infidelity. Jay-Z was rumored to have a very long-time mistress. It was well known in the industry. People knew of Cathy White because of Jay-Z, okay? Yikes. So here's where it gets a little crazy. Cathy White was known to be pregnant in 2011. Shortly after giving birth, Cathy died mysteriously in her apartment of a brain aneurysm.
I have a feeling this is related.
Okay. Now, even though we saw Beyonce's bump publicly, there's a video of Beyonce sitting down for an interview and her whole stomach just deflates in the video. And it's very weird.
This is crazy.
If you listen to Daughter, the song completely illustrates a confession. The lyrics in the song say, "Your body laid out on these filthy floors, your bloodstains on my custom coutures. Bathroom attendant let me right in. She was a big fan. I tried to stay cool, but your arrogance disturbed my solitude. Now I ripped your dress and you're all black and blue. Look what you made me do." So fans are speculating that Beyonce had Cathy White after Cathy White had the baby and claimed the baby as her own, and that baby is Blue Ivy.
We finally know the truth, sis, about Blue Ivy Carter, the princess of hip-hop, Beyonce's firstborn, and about Cathy White, the woman the blogs swear was silenced before she could spill Jay-Z's deepest secrets. And the way these two names have been tangled up in whispers for more than a decade, it's giving cover-up. Let's set the stage. Blue Ivy was born in 2012, but even before her very first cry, she was already a headline. Beyonce announced that pregnancy at the VMAs in 2011, rubbing her baby bump on stage like a mic drop. One of the most iconic reveals in music history, but almost instantly, the streets didn't buy it. The bump was collapsing on TV. The whispers about surrogacy started, and folks swore the Carters were hiding something about Blue Ivy's birth. To this day, some fans still argue about whether Beyonce carried that baby herself. Now add Cathy White's name into the mix. For people who don't know, Cathy was a young publicist who the blogs claim was once tied to Jay-Z romantically, allegedly his mistress. Word on the street was that she had tea to spill, not just about Jay's cheating, but about things that could shake the Carter empire. And just when the rumors about her speaking out started heating up, boom, Cathy White suddenly passed away in 2011 from what was reported as an aneurysm. She was 28. The timing, too perfect, too eerie. One moment, Beyonce is debuting her pregnancy glow. Next, the one woman allegedly tied to Jay-Z's mess is gone. That's when conspiracy culture went into overdrive. Some said Cathy was silenced. Others swore her death was a warning. And when Blue Ivy was born months later, the theories fused. That baby's birth and Cathy's death are two halves of the same mystery. And the Carters? Child, they never entertained it. For them, Blue Ivy was a blessing, period. Beyonce even dropped a track called Glory with Jay-Z days after the birth, where he rapped about a miscarriage they suffered before Blue. That was the official narrative. A hard journey, a miracle baby, end of story. But the internet wasn't done talking. For every beautiful family photo Beyonce posted, there was a thread underneath about Cathy White, about hidden truths, about the timing. So here we are, years later with new whispers surfacing again. Blue Ivy is a teenager now, building her own legacy, while Cathy White's name still lingers like a ghost tied to the Carter fairy tale. The streets want to know, was it coincidence or was it cover-up?
You mean she's dead? What happened to her? This is just a beautiful, young, seemingly healthy 28-year-old woman. I was told that she didn't have any health issues, and it was very shocking to hear. And her colleague did not know what happened to her or how she died or why she died, but all she knew is that she was dead.
Now, when it comes to public spin, nobody does it cleaner than the Carters. That's Beyonce and Jay-Z built an empire on two things: talent and image control. And when Blue Ivy was born, they weren't just welcoming a child, they were allegedly crafting a narrative. The official story was polished. Beyonce, the glowing mother, finally holding her miracle baby after a miscarriage. Jay-Z rapping about the joy of fatherhood on Glory. The Carters becoming the picture-perfect Black royalty family. Every magazine cover, every stage photo, every glimpse of Blue Ivy was tightly curated. No messy paparazzi shots, no baby shower leaks, no room for alternative versions. To the world, Blue was proof that their love was strong, their empire unshakable. But while the Carters were spinning perfection, the streets were whispering something else. the surrogacy rumors wouldn't die. Folks dissected that infamous Australian interview where Beyoncé's stomach seemed to fold in as she sat down. They swore the whole pregnancy was staged, that someone else carried Blue Ivy, and that the VMA's announcement was a carefully planned distraction. The official spin was miracle motherhood. The unofficial spin was smoke and mirrors. Cathy White's passing on paper was a tragic aneurysm. The spin in mainstream outlets was about a young publicist gone too soon. Nothing more, nothing less. But the blogs told a different story. They positioned her as the alleged other woman with too much information, the one who was about to go public with secrets that could shake Jay-Z's reputation. Her sudden death, right as Beyoncé's pregnancy news exploded. The conspiracy machine went into overdrive. To the fans online, the spin was an aneurysm, it was erasure. And that's the split we've been watching for years. On one side, the Carters' carefully guarded brand, Blue Ivy as the chosen heir, Cathy White's name scrubbed out of the conversation. On the other, the internet's underground spin, Blue Ivy and Cathy White forever linked in whispers about timing, power, and what was hidden. Even now, you see it in real time. Every time Blue Ivy wins an award or pops up slaying choreo on Beyoncé's Renaissance tour, the official story gets reinforced. Look at this talented child, destined for greatness, but scroll the comments and there's always someone digging up Cathy's name, keeping the conspiracy alive. That's the thing about spin, sis. The Carters can guard their image like Fort Knox, but the internet's memory don't fade. They buried Cathy White in silence, but in doing so, they made sure her ghost stayed tied to Blue Ivy's story forever. See, the reason folks still connect Blue Ivy and Cathy White all these years later is because Jay-Z's track record with women has never been squeaky clean. Let's be real. Before he was half of the Carters, Jay had a long history of cheating rumors, industry flings, and whispers about women whose names never made the official story. And Cathy White's name keeps floating to the top of that list. So who was she? Cathy White was a young publicist moving through the New York entertainment scene, pretty, ambitious, plugged in. The blog swore she was allegedly Jay-Z's longtime side piece, the woman he'd sneak away with even as he was building his empire with Beyoncé. According to gossip pages at the time, Cathy knew everything. She wasn't just a fling. She allegedly had insight into Jay's lifestyle, his moves, even the skeletons he didn't want dragged out. Now here's where it gets messy. In 2011, reports surfaced that Cathy was planning to speak out. Some said she was tired of being hidden. Others claimed she was ready to write a tell-all that would drop names, details, and timelines. And then, just like that, she was gone. Dead at 28 from what was ruled an aneurysm. No foul play, no deep investigation, just tragic sudden death. The timing was too on the nose. Cathy dies in August 2011. Weeks later, Beyoncé steps on the VMA stage, rubbing her belly and announcing she's pregnant with Blue Ivy. To conspiracy culture, that wasn't coincidence, that was choreography. The other woman exits, the chosen heir enters, the Carter image protected. And don't forget, Beyoncé's pregnancy was under a microscope from the jump. People swore the bump folded, swore she wore prosthetics, swore a surrogate carried Blue Ivy. Beyoncé clapped back with documentaries and interviews, but the rumors never died, and Cathy's ghost only made them louder. Jay-Z's own music hasn't helped either. He's admitted to cheating in later years, and his whole 444 album was basically a confession about infidelity. Fans look back and say, "See?" He told on himself, which only makes Cathy White's story feel more believable. So when you line it up, Jay-Z's history with women, Cathy's alleged affair, her sudden death, Beyoncé's rocky pregnancy narrative, the dots practically connect themselves in the minds of conspiracy theorists. Blue Ivy wasn't just born into fame, she was born into a story shaped by secrets, scandals, and a woman whose name was supposed to disappear but never did.
Question number 1. None of Cathy White's family knew that she was pregnant? 2, none of the doctors, not even the morgue that she was brought into, did like a cavity search to see, even when they find out people are pregnant when they're it's like, oh, it's times 2 because the person you was pregnant. But you would have seen that there was a removal of a body, a delivery of a baby. None of her friends, no one questioned anything at all about what happened to her baby. We had a funeral for her and no baby. I really am starting to think all this is a bunch of hocus pocus.
Now, before we crown ourselves detectives, let's zoom out, because the Carters ain't the only ones who've had their family legacies tangled up in secret kids, hidden mistresses, or conveniently timed deaths. This kind of scandal has been floating around celebrity culture for decades, and every time the pattern looks a little too familiar. Take Arnold Schwarzenegger. For years, he was the picture-perfect family man with Maria Shriver. Then boom, the world finds out he had a secret child with the housekeeper, and that boy had been growing up in plain sight. Overnight, the narrative of Hollywood power couple collapsed into hidden family empire. Or look at Drake. He tried to keep Sophie Brousseau and their son, Adonis, a secret, only to get dragged by Pusha T. Suddenly, the whole world knew, and Drake had to spin the story from shame to Dad of the Year. Sound familiar? A man hiding skeletons until public pressure forced the truth. Even Steve Jobs, billionaire genius, Apple's icon, denied his daughter Lisa for years, even when DNA proved it. His empire was built while pretending she didn't exist. That's the thing. Power makes people think they can bury the truth, but secrets always crawl back. In Cathy White's case, it feels like that same energy, only darker. Because unlike Schwarzenegger, Drake, or Jobs, Cathy didn't get to tell her side. She didn't get to air out the receipts, go on TV, or write a book. She died at 28, right when the whisper said she was ready to talk. That's why her name hits different. It's not just scandal, it's silence. But if we flip this whole narrative on its side, maybe Cathy's death really was just a medical tragedy. Aneurysms don't discriminate. They happen suddenly, brutally, and often without warning. Maybe she wasn't silenced, maybe she was just unlucky, and maybe Beyoncé really did carry Blue Ivy herself, bump and all. Maybe the conspiracy isn't proof of a cover-up, but proof that people don't trust perfection. Because the Carters keep everything so guarded, fans start filling in the blanks with their own wild scripts. Still, here's the kicker. Perception is everything. Once the public smells mystery, it doesn't matter what the truth is. Arnold will always be tied to the housekeeper. Drake will always be clowned for hiding his kid. And the Carters, no matter what the autopsy said, no matter what the baby photos show, Cathy White's ghost is forever tied to Blue Ivy's name.